Chapter 19 Alternate Presence and Multiple Focus. Let us begin with the normal waking consciousness that you know. But one step away from this is another level of consciousness into which you all slip without knowing. We will call it A1. It is adjacent to your normal consciousness, separated from it very slightly, and yet in it very definite effects can appear that are not present in your usual state. At this level, many abilities may be used, and the present moment can be experienced in many different fashions, using as a basis the physical data with which you are already familiar. In your normal state, you see the body. In A1, your consciousness can enter the body of another and heal it. You can, in the same manner, perceive the state of your own physical image. You can, according to your abilities, manipulate matter from the inside consciously, with lucidity and alertness. A1 may be used as a side platform, so to speak, from which you can view physical events from a clearer standpoint. Using it, you are released momentarily from bodily pressures, and with that freedom, you can move to relieve them. Problems that seem beyond solution can often, though not always, be solved. Suggestions given are much more effective. It is easier to form images, and they have a greater mobility. A1 is a sidestep away, therefore, and yet an important one. Now, it can be used as the first of a series of steps, leading to quote-unquote deeper states of consciousness. It can also be used as the first of a series of adjacent steps. Each of the deeper layers of consciousness can also be used as first steps, leading to other adjacent levels. A1 is simple to enter. When you listen to music that you like, when you are indulging in an enjoyable quiet pursuit, you can sense the different feeling. It may be accompanied by your own characteristic physical clues. You may tap your fingers in a certain way. There may be a particular gesture. You may stare or look dreamily to the left or right. Any such physical clues can help you differentiate between this state of consciousness and the usual predominating one. You have only to recognize it, learn to hold it, and then proceed to experience in its use. As a rule, it is still physically oriented, in that the abilities are usually directed toward the inner perception and manipulation of matter or physical environment. You can, therefore, perceive the present moment from a variety of unique standpoints not usually available. You can perceive the moment's reality as it exists for your intestine or your hand, and experience, with practice, the present inner peace and commotion that exists simultaneously within your physical body. This brings a great appreciation and wonder, a sense of unity with the living corporeal material of which you are physically composed. With practice, you can become as intuitively aware of your internal physical environment as of your external physical environment. With greater practice, the contents of your own mind will become as readily available. You will see your thoughts as clearly as your inner organs. In this case, you may perceive them symbolically, through symbols you will recognize, seeing jumbled thoughts, for example, as weeds, which you can then simply discard. You can request that the thought content of your mind be translated into an intense image, symbolically representing individual thoughts and the overall mental landscape, then take out what you do not like and replace it with more positive images. This does not mean that this inner landscape must always be completely sunny, but it does mean that it should be well balanced. A dark and largely brooding inner landscape should alert you so that you begin immediately to change it. None of these accomplishments are beyond my readers, though anyone may find any one given feat more difficult than another. You must also realize that I am speaking in practical terms. You can correct a physical condition, for example, in the manner just given. If so, however, by examining the inner landscape of thoughts, you would find the source here that initially brought about the physical ailment. Feelings can be examined in the same way. They will appear differently with much greater mobility. Thoughts, for example, may appear as stationary structures as flowers or trees, houses or landscapes. Feelings will appear more often in the changing mobility of water, wind, weather, skies, and changing color. Any physical ailment, then, can be perceived in this state by looking inward into the body and discovering it. Then, by changing what you see, you may find yourself entering your body or another's as a very small miniature, or as a point of light, or simply without any substance, yet aware of the inner body environment. You change what needs to be changed in whatever way occurs to you then, by directing the body's energy in that direction, by entering the flesh and bringing certain portions together that need this adjustment, by manipulating areas of the spine. Then, from this adjacent platform of A1 consciousness, you perceive the mental thought patterns of yourself or the other person, in whatever way you find characteristic of you. You may perceive the thought patterns as quickly flashing sentences or words that are usually seen within your mind or within the other mind, or as black letters that form words. Or you may hear the words and thoughts being expressed, or you may see the earlier mentioned quote-unquote landscape, in which the thoughts symbolically form into a picture. This will show you how the thoughts brought about the physical malady and which ones were involved. The same thing should then be done with the feeling pattern. This may be perceived as bursts of dark or light colors in motion, or simply one particular emotion of great force may be felt. If it is very strong, one emotion may be felt in many such guises. In the case of both thoughts and emotions, with great confidence you can pluck out those that are connected with the malady. In such a manner you have made adjustments on 3 levels. A1 may be used also as a great framework for creativity, concentration, study, refreshment, rest, and meditation. You may evolve your own image of this state to help you, imagining it as a room or a pleasant landscape or platform. Spontaneously, you will find your own symbol for this state. Now, the state may be used also as a step to the next state of consciousness, leading to a deeper trance condition, still relating, however, to the reality system that you understand. Or it may be used as a step leading to an adjacent level of consciousness, 2 steps away, therefore, on the same level from normal reality. In this case, it will lead you not into a deeper examination and perception of the present moment, but instead into an awareness and recognition of what I will call alternate present moments. You will be taking a step aside from the present that you know. This leads to explorations mentioned earlier in the book into probabilities. This state can be extremely advantageous when you are trying to solve problems having to do with future arrangements, decisions that will affect the future, and any matters, in fact, in which important decisions for the future must be made. In this state, you are able to try out various alternative decisions and some probable results, not imaginatively, but in quite practical terms. These probabilities are realities, regardless of which decisions you make. Say, for example, that you have 3 choices and it is imperative that you select one. Using this state, you take the first choice. The alternate present is the moment in which you make that choice. Having made it, the present is changed, and quite clearly you perceive exactly the way it is changed, and what actions and events will flow from the change into the future that belongs to that particular alternate present. You do the same with each of the other choices, all from the framework of that state of consciousness. The methods in each case are the same. You make the decision, you then become aware in whatever way you choose of the physical effect within your body. You enter the body as you did in the way I gave earlier for healing. With great sensitivity, you are able to see what physical effect the decision will have, whether the state of the body remains the same, whether there is a great sense of health within it, or the incipient beginnings of great difficulties. In like manner, you explore the mental and feeling aspects. Then you turn your attention quote-unquote outward, toward the environment that results from this alternate present. Mentally, events will appear to you. You may experience these strongly or merely view them. They may become so vivid that you momentarily forget yourself, but if you maintain your contact with this level of consciousness, this will happen seldom. As a rule, you are very aware of what you are doing. According to the situation, you can do the same thing to find out the effect of this situation on others specifically. You then return to normal consciousness, going through the A1 state that you used as a preliminary. After a period of rest, return and make the second decision, and again for the third, following through in the same manner. Then, in your normal state of consciousness, of course, you make the decision that you want from the information and experience that you have received. The names make little difference. For simplicity's sake, call this level of consciousness A1A. There is an A1B, you see, still adjacent to this one, and still starting off from an alternate present that can be used for many other purposes. It is not as easy for the ordinary individual to enter, and it deals with group presence, with mass probabilities, racial matters, the movement of civilization. It is the one that would be most beneficial to politicians and statesmen, and it also can be used to probe into probable pasts as well. Here it would be of benefit in learning of old ruins, for example, and vanished civilizations, but only if the specific probable past were probed in which these existed. The next adjacent level now would be A1C, which is an extension of the one just given. in which there is greater freedom of action, mobility, and experience. Here, to some extent, there is some participation in the events perceived. There is no need to go deeply into any of these beyond this point, because ordinarily you will not be involved with them, and they lead into realities that have little reference to your own. They are states of consciousness too divorced, and under usual circumstances, this is as far as your present consciousness is able to go in that particular direction. The first state, A1A, is the most practical and the easiest for you, but often you must still have a good feeling for the A1 level before you are willing to take that next adjacent step. It allows for great expansion, however, within its limitations. Using it, you can discover, for example, what would have happened if, quote-unquote, I did this or the other. Remember, these are all adjacent levels going out horizontally. Directly beneath A1 now, you will have A2, which is a slightly deeper state, using the analogy of up and down direction. It is less physically oriented than A1. You still have excellent lucidity and awareness. This state can be used to explore the past in your terms of reference within the probable system that you know,